Go. Welcome to our 18,000 subscribers on YouTube. What's going on? It's Kyle Henderson of BamaInsider.com. A lot to talk about. I wanted to quickly jump on today and discuss Alabama first practice of the spring season. You can call into the show anytime, 205-686-3604. I'll take your calls this morning. Bright and early, feeling good. Got my coffee. Have had an opportunity to watch the highlights yesterday from practice. Have had an opportunity to listen to Nick Saban, and I wrote a 3-2-1 this morning on BamaInsider.com, which you can go read right now. And 3 things we learned, 2 questions, and 1 prediction. And I think the biggest takeaway from yesterday was the fact that Kaho was nowhere to be found, right? Everyone was talking about that following practice, and I'm curious to see what happens moving forward with the young man. I mean, very talented inside linebacker. We talked about him a lot leading up to spring practice, and he was slated to be with Markel Benton and Shane Lee for that inside linebacker position. So to not have him at practice, I think is a big question mark going into the rest of the season. And while we wait for everybody else to get piped in here, I'm going to play Nick Saban's press conference, a little bit from yesterday. And then, of course, I'll take your calls at 205-686-3604. Thanks for joining us. You can catch the highlights back on our YouTube channel. And let's pipe in Saban's presser real quick, and we'll wait for more people to pop on in. Thanks for joining us, by the way. Here's Nick Saban from yesterday. Get that lined up for you guys. Here we go.
So the result of that has been we've been able to win a lot of games. Guys have got a lot of individual accolades, got a lot of opportunities to play at the next level, and we've been able to win a few championships. So, but I think it's important to reestablish that. I think to do that, people have to have humility and understand that regardless of how much success you have, you still have to pay attention to detail and do things right in preparation and in practice so you don't develop bad habits. And I also think that, players have to stay focused on the process of what they need to do to be good players. Focusing on outcomes is like a distraction. And, people work, whether it's individual outcomes or team outcomes, it's really kind of a distraction for everybody. So that's been one of the things that we've been trying to focus on. Obviously, from a physical development standpoint, we want to get as many guys ready through repetition, whether they're young players, inexperienced players, or returning starters, makes no difference. Get them to play as well as they can play so that we can depend on them to play winning football in some way or some role, in the fall. So knowledge and experience is obviously important to that, but playing with good intangibles, having good work ethic, giving effort, playing with toughness, being responsible to do a job, those things are all really important as well. So after one day, I know you're going to ask me questions about 100 guys and how they did today. And I really can't tell you that, There's an awful lot of players out there, and, we're trying to coach them all. And, some guys obviously further ahead than others, but we have a lot of new faces. I'm really pleased with the coaching staff that we've been able to put together, how they've adapted, how the players have responded to them. So that's been a really positive thing for us. The early enrollees have done a really good job of adapting academically as well as in the off-season program, and their learning curve has been really pretty good. I can't tell you how they all did today in practice. How we practiced with everybody practicing 1s and 3s, 2s and 4s, split fields, lots of different drills. So until you watch the film, you really don't get a great feel for exactly how guys did. But the most important thing is not how they did, but finding out where they are, what we got to do to get them where they're capable of being and where they can, help us and play winning football next year. So from an injury standpoint, Shaheem Carter and Ben Davis, are probably be limited throughout the spring, although I do think Shaheem has a chance to get back at some point in time. He had a sports hernia. Ben Davis has got, shin splint type injuries that had to be fixed. But all the other players, Trayvon Diggs, Terrell Lewis, Jalen Armour-Davis, Chris Allen, those guys they all participated in practice today. They participated in some degree in the off-season program, so we're thinking those guys will be fine.
Coach, we'll start right here with Charlie.
Just rounding out the injuries, do you have an update on Ali Kaho? We didn't see him out there today.
He's got some issues that he's dealing with, and we're trying to be supportive of him every way that we can, and I think that we'll just continue to try to help him every way that we can, and I don't know if there'll be some point in time he'll be ready to come back and play football or not.
Come here in the middle with Michael.
All right, we'll come back to that. I wanted to welcome everyone to the show. Nearly 20,000 subscribers now on YouTube, so that's pretty impressive. We appreciate you guys tuning in. What was your takeaway? What was your takeaway from Ale Kaho not being at practice? I mean, I think that's probably one of the biggest takeaways from yesterday. And you can read my 321 right now on BamaInsider.com, where I talk about Ale and what it could mean going forward for the Alabama Crimson Tide, especially at the inside linebacker position. I think on the other side you have Dylan Moses, who's a lock to be Alabama's signal caller, but on the other side at the will inside linebacker position, you were slated to have a position battle with Markel Benton, Ale Kaho, and probably Shane Lee. So I don't know what's going to happen. Remember, if we rewind when talking about Ale Kaho, he had committed to Washington, then requested for a transfer, then was in late enrollee to the Crimson Tide just before the start of the season, played mostly special teams. I believe he had I think it was like 10 tackles or something like that. And, it's, I don't know. It could potentially be a big loss at that inside linebacker position. But thanks for joining us this morning. You can watch all the highlights on BamaInsider.com from yesterday. I also wrote about some of these the freshmen that we were able to see, and I'm going to play some of those clips right now. And I was really impressed with. Did you guys see on the footage Evan Neal, 6'7", 360 pounds? And I wrote this morning that usually when you watch the offensive linemen, I mean, they're all monsters, right? I mean, they're all the 6'5", 315 range. Evan Neal stands out against the linemen. I mean, 6'7", 360 pounds. He's a monster of a man. He moves well too. I'm going to play some footage right now of the Crimson Tide, and I'll talk in the background. And of course, you can call into the show, 205-686-3604. I know I'm early this morning, but I was excited to talk some Alabama football. It's been such a long time since we've got together, and I will have my Sunday show. And this year, I'm going to bring on, this spring, I'm going to bring on Mike Johnson for the call-in show. You've seen him killing it. He's our Alabama Crimson Tide football analyst this spring, so we'll have him on. You guys can call him, pepper him with your football questions, and it should be a good time. Let me swap out real quick and play some footage from yesterday. You can watch the complete highlights on our YouTube channel. So here is footage from yesterday. All right, it should be playing right now. All right, now I'll talk over the background. There you see Steve Sarkisian. He's the one pointing towards us, and there's Tua taking a snap right here. And check this out. Look at this throw. And then look at that grab. That was Smitty. Smitty going up deep and bringing it in. One of the receivers that we don't talk enough about here for the Crimson Tide. There's Mac Jones, as you see, number 10, and then Tua hooking up right there. That's Slade Bolden bringing down that reception there, number 18. Be excited to see if he can get some action this year. Number 5 is Leah Tongo-Valoa. That's Tua's brother, putting on a dime right there. And number 3, that is John Mechie. That's another early enrollee. So we were able to see Talia and Paul yesterday Paul is, you can see him in the background somewhere. Right there in the red sweatshirt, that's Holman Wiggins. That's a new wide receivers coach. I'll just kind of point out, guys, as I see him, because I'm watching this with you right now. There's Talia, and look who it is. Yeah. You know, he's all about it, right? Scott Cochran. There's a tight ends. There's Steve Sarkisian. There's Tua again. And in the background, that's Tino Sinceri. That's Sal Sinceri's son. He was a quarterback at Pittsburgh, now at GA, working with the quarterback. So a lot of new faces. Everywhere you look on this team and at practice, there's new coaches everywhere. And I think here in the next clip, or here in the next clip, we'll look at the defensive line. But here's a good look at Tua and Mac Jones from yesterday. Saban's really excited about Mac Jones. Said that everything that he's done, he's impressed him with. And Tua, right? I mean, already a 3-1 favorite to win the Heisman. How can you not be excited about Tua Tagovailoa coming into the 2019 season? I think we're about to switch up. Oh, there's Talia one more time. And I know someone asked on in the comment box regarding Cameron Latou. Yeah, he's working. There he is, number 20 to the left. You can see him. He's working with the tight ends this year. That's him right here. There's Jeff Banks to the left of him. Cameron Latou, the outside linebacker, is now working with the tight ends. And that's an interesting experiment. That's what Saban said yesterday, regarding the Cameron Latou moving from outside linebacker to a tight end position. There's Slade Bolden, number 18. I think he's got to be right after Jalen Waddle in terms of one of those speedy receivers that can come underneath the defense, make plays. There's number 15, Paul Tyson. Of course, you can watch all this on BamaInsider.com on the YouTube channel. I think we got a couple more clips of the quarterbacks. Here's Talia. Good-looking quarterback. I saw Tua and Talia's father yesterday rolling into practice. I know, Pops likes to go check out practice. So here are the outside linebackers. Anthony Jennings. There's Terrell Lewis. There's Chris Allen. There's Iyabi Anoma. There's Jerez Parks. Really, really great to see guys like Terrell Lewis and Chris Allen back at practice. Remember, both of those guys suffered injuries last year, ACL injuries, which took them out of the 2018 season. There's a defensive lineman working. There's number 56. That's Antonio Alfano. I'll get more footage of him, and I'll put together a package for you guys to check him out more in depth. Looked good yesterday, and working with the defensive lineman, that's Brian Baker in the background, a new defensive assistant for the 2019 season. And I zoom back to the outside linebackers. There's Jennings. There's Lewis. Lewis looks great. Looks like he's moving well. Same with Chris Allen. I think Allen, when you talk about guys who you feel are going to really make a splash for this coming season, I think Chris Allen's name certainly has to be mentioned. There's new outside linebacker coach Sal Sinceri. And what I've been told is that Sal Sinceri likes to drop some F-bombs, so I might have to edit that out, or I'll just let it fly on the YouTube channel. I mean, he's him and Tosh, were guys that like to let it rip. And it's good to see Sal Sinceri. You got Sal Sinceri out there. You got Vinny Sinceri working with, he's a GA working with the secondary, and then Tino Sinceri working with the quarterback. So it's like a Sinceri takeover this season when you look at the coaching staff. All right, we're back to the defensive line. Here's Antonio Alfano getting off the ball, working with new defensive line coach Brian Baker. There's Christian Barmore to the right. I'm expecting a big year from Barmore. That's him, number 58. And then working with the ones. I think you'll see the ones here in a second. Yeah, the ones were Raekwon Davis. There you can see him back to the left. Raekwon Davis, LeBrian Ray, and Fedarian Mathis working with the defensive line. So, exciting stuff. Thanks for joining us today. What's up, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson. You can call into the show if you guys are up already, 205-686-3604. I had my coffee. Feeling good. Finally. It was like football yesterday energized me, right? I was needing it. I was feeling a little lethargic, and yesterday's practice certainly put me in the right mood. And in fact, as we go into the spring season, it's when you look at Alabama, the Crimson Tide's practice schedule, they had practice yesterday, March 8th, and then it's spring break for the Crimson Tide. So we won't get together for a long while again because Alabama's next practice isn't till March 18th. So I'll be on vacation, by the way. So if you want to holler at me, you can drop me an email, but I'll be on vacation. So earlier in the show, we talked about Ali Kaho not being at practice. I don't know what that's going to mean if he's going to come back. That would be a big blow to Alabama's inside linebackers. You also have Ben Davis, who wasn't at practice. He's dealing with shin splints. Shaheem Carter was in a black jersey. Looks like he's dealing with a sports hernia. And then Kedrick James, who at tight end, he got suspended towards the later part of last season, and he was not at practice yesterday. As I mentioned, who's back from injuries? Trayvon Diggs, he had a foot. He's back working with the corners. Jalen Armour Davis, who will be a redshirt freshman, he's back after suffering an ACL. And then, as I noted in the video, Chris Allen and Terrell Lewis, both back working with the outside linebackers. Now, let me get to you. Let's talk more about Evan Neal. I'm going to try to find the footage of him. I just think it's so impressive looking at his size. And you tell me what you think. I mean, he's got a ways to go in terms of, his technique. And I want to get with Mike Johnson to see what he thinks. Being a former offensive lineman, All-American here at Alabama. Here he is. All right, let me switch this up. All right, here you go. There he is. That's Evan Neal, number 73. He's a monster, right? He's a monster. Let me play this for you. All right, so we're watching Evan Neal. All right, we got our first call. Here we go. All right. Hello. Thanks for calling. You're on the line with Kyle Henderson, who I'm on the line with. And where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Rhode Island.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, what's going on?
Good, man. What's your name?
Chris.
What's up, Chris? How you doing today?
I'm hanging in there.
What'd you think of yesterday, man?
I'm not gonna lie. I was impressed with how some of the new guys started with the camp. I watched some of the clips online, and I like how some of the movement. I just had a question.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Cameron Letu, is he gonna get reps at outside linebacker? This like the jack position and stuff like he was originally, or are they just keeping him permanently at tight end? You think?
Well, yesterday, that's a good question. I appreciate the call in, and good morning to you, man. Thanks for joining our early show. Cameron Letu is a guy who has a lot of athleticism, obviously. I mean, you've seen the clips that we've posted online. You've seen practice footage of him. Good-sized kid. I think right now it's an experiment. If you rewind to last spring season, remember Saban did this with Devontae Smith when he put Devontae Smith on the defense and worked him out at corner safety. So this year, I think we're seeing the same thing just with Cameron Letu. I don't know if it's a permanent thing. I think we'll have to watch that going forward. I'm curious myself. I mean, because you have Kedrick James, who's going to be missing those first four games. You don't have a tight end returning that even caught a pass last year. You're trying to replace Irv Smith, who really was exceptional. So, like you, I'm curious to see what happens with Cameron Letu. I think he's a guy that, Coach Saban has a lot of faith in. And from what Saban said yesterday, he's looking pretty good at tight end. What else you got, man?
And just an update on Antonio Alfano is I saw that he was working with like the second and third group. Do you think he's going to be a key contributor, or do you think the surprise of the freshman D-line group is going to be Justin Abogbe?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think when you look at guys like Justin Mbogbe and Antonio Alfano, those are guys who are going to have to make strides and prove themselves over this springtime. Now, the first three looked great yesterday. Raekwon Davis, LeBron Ray, and Fedarian Mathis. I really want to see more of Fedarian Mathis. I mean, he looked great in the short burst that we saw yesterday. Antonio Alfano looked great. I mean, he doesn't look like a freshman. He's big. I mean, he's floating around 300 pounds. I want to see if they even give him a shot at defensive tackle along with defensive end. Still a ways to go with him, but I think he's going to get on the field this season. I'm curious to see how much that he does play when we get into the spring game, but I really like Antonio Alfano, and I'll have to watch more of Justin Abogbe. Anything else while you're on?
No, that's it, man. Thanks.
Hey, have a good day. See ya.
All right, you too.
All right. call-in line. I know I missed a couple calls earlier. Good morning to everybody. 205-686-3604. Hit me up. Let's talk some Alabama football. Don't be shy. Call in. It's your show. It's a beautiful time. You got Alabama football finally back, and I know we have this long break of springtime with spring break, but Alabama football is back. So many storylines going in, and as I was showing before our last caller came in, the size of the size of Evan Neal. Let me see if I can play that clip again. Because all right, we got another call. Good. All right, here you go. All right, what's up, buddy? You're on the line with Kyle Henderson. Who am I on the line with, and where are you calling from?
I'm John from Cambridge, Mass.
Hey, what's up, John? How you doing today?
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Good morning. What you got?
My question for you is, which player or players do you think are going to benefit the most from the new coaching changes?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I've talked about it on my spring previews. I think Raekwon Davis will benefit most from Brian Baker. Brian Baker is a new defensive line coach. Think about can you turn down your background, please?
What's that?
Can you turn down if there's audio in the background? Could you turn it down possibly? If not, we're good. All right. So Brian Baker. When we look at his resume, he comes over from Mississippi State last year, where he helped transition the Bulldog defense into the number one defense in college football. And he also worked with Montez Sweat. Before that, he worked with Leonard Little. He worked with Julius Peppers. So now, because I think Alabama Crimson Tide fans are all waiting for Raekwon Davis to really have that blowout year, right? Last year, he only had one sack. So I think when new coaches come to impact Alabama instantly, I think it's Brian Baker having an impact on Raekwon Davis. Let's talk about another one. Let's see. I'm interested to see what Charles Huff, who's a new running backs coach, what he can do with the running backs. Just a couple years ago, Charles Huff was coaching Saquon Barkley, and now he has Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, Killen Robinson, Trey Sanders, and Jerome Ford to work with. So I think Charles Huff, working with especially Najee, can fine-tune him and really take Najee to the next level. Everyone's excited about Najee, but I think Charles Huff and Najee are going to do big things. Anything else while you're on the show?
What sort of role do you see for Josh Jobe? It seems like with Trayvon Diggs, Surtain, Carter, and McKinney, he may not have a huge role, but I'm wondering if you think he'll be on the field at all in any meaningful snaps this year.
Yeah, good question. I think, we saw a splash of Josh Jobe last season. Came in as a freshman in a tough situation, really. I think he's going to get on the field, and I think anytime you look at the defensive backs and the corners especially, you have to have depth. We saw last year what happened with Trayvon Diggs. He got injured with a foot injury. Savion Smith struggled, on and off the season. So you have to have guys that can come in and have depth. Patrick Surtain looks to be the number one corner along with Trayvon Diggs, but I think Josh Jobe will get on the field plenty. He's going to provide depth, which is key.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the calling. All right. Appreciate the calls, everyone. 205-686-3604 is the number to call in. Having coffee. Maybe coffee with Kyle, right? I don't know. True story. You guys are going to find this funny. Went into order some food a couple days ago. I posted this on my Twitter. You can follow me at rivals_Kyle. Went into order some food here in Tuscaloosa. And I go up to the counter and I'm like, I place my order. I got a Greek salad. And the girl's like, "What's your name?" And I'm like, "Kyle." And she's like, "Oh," she was disappointed. And I was like, "What?" And she was like, "I was hoping your name would be something more exotic." And I was like, What? And I was like, "You're going to be really disappointed when you hear my last name is Henderson." So she was like, "Not even Hernandez?" It's killer. Funny stuff. 205-686-3604. Kyle Henderson, rivals_Kyle on Twitter. All the coverage back on BamaInsider.com. Today we are talking Alabama football following 1 day of practice. They gave us 1 day, and now we have to wait till March 18th for the next practice. And then March 19th will actually be Alabama's pro day. So we'll have coverage from the pro day. I saw that Josh Jacobs, Damian Harris, there's a list of like 10 guys that will be competing in the pro day. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me. I was trying to play you guys before we got our last two calls. The sheer size of Evan Neal, who's an absolute monster. Let's see if we can rewind to that clip. There he is. Man, he's a big boy. 6'7", 360 pounds of pure nastiness. All right, you're gonna see him coming up in the new offensive. We got a new offensive line coach too. Alabama, there he is. Kyle Flood was recently the assistant offensive line coach for the Atlanta Falcons. There he is. And Kyle Flood was also a head coach at Rutgers for a little while. I think for 3 seasons. 2015 to 2012 to 2015, I think. All right. I want to show you a couple more clips of Evan Neal. Feel free to call in 205-686-3604. I think some better footage of Neal is coming up in just a second. All right. Let me know if we have any trolls on the message board. I'm sorry about that. Okay. All right. We are back. So, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned yesterday, I think the biggest takeaways for me, Kaho not being there, got an early look at the freshman. One guy that really looked good to me yesterday, and I didn't have any footage of him, was actually John Mechie. John Mechie is a guy that, it's going to be hard to see a player like, it's going to be hard to see a player stand out in that receiver room because, you have Jerry Jeudy coming back, you have Henry Ruggs coming back, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, but I think, a player like John Mechie could, he could do something special. And same with Slade Bolden. I know a lot of people were curious to see if Slade Bolden can get on the field this year. I don't know. I think Alabama's schedule is favorable enough to where you're going to see a lot of these 2s and 3s play this year, especially when you look at that front end of the schedule. But I think, Slade Bolden and John Mechie, those were 2 other guys that definitely stood out yesterday. Also got a chance to see Shane Lee. A lot of people excited about him. He's an inside linebacker. I wrote he's made of concrete, 250 pounds. His arms are just jacked. His legs are jacked. He's got tree trunk type legs. I don't know. I didn't really see him move too much though. I want to see how athletic he is. Can he move with all that muscle? I don't know. I mean, Shane Lee. I mean, if you don't have Ben Davis, if you don't have Kaho, you're going to need Shane Lee to really step up. He's a guy that could see major playing time this year as a true freshman. As I mentioned, new coaches all over the field. 7 new assistant coaches, a couple new graduate assistants, guys, new faces all over. But that didn't really change the tempo. Everything looked great yesterday. Very sharp, very crisp for a first day of practice. These guys are seasoned, coming off the 4th quarter program, so there was no dip. Brian Baker looked great working with the D lineman. I didn't get the chance to see any of the running backs the way that we were positioned yesterday. They put the running backs in the far side, same with the quarterbacks, so I didn't really get a good shot. I mean, I know I have footage of the quarterbacks, but I wasn't close up with the quarterbacks yesterday. Same with the running backs. Charles Kelly, I saw him working with the safeties. Carl Scott saw him working with the corners. Nick Saban is still working with the secondary and refers to himself as a GA. It's funny. He, if you watch the presser, he's like, yeah, I'm still a GA. I do what GAs do. I'm a gopher. I try to do the best job possible when I'm out here. So you really have 3 coaches working in the secondary, which I think is a good thing for the Crimson Tide. Charles Kelly is a new addition and very successful. Most recently was with Tennessee, and before that, he was at Florida State, where he was actually the defensive coordinator. And if you look at his resume, he's been a coach for a long time. And Saban said this about Kelly, and this really stood out to me. He said he wanted to go after Kelly because, number one, he knows the terminology because he's been with Jeremy Pruitt when he was at Florida State and at Tennessee. So he knows the concepts. But number two, most importantly, he's an Alabama guy. Said Kelly's from Alabama, coached at Alabama. His family is from Alabama. And when you talk recruiting-wise and continuing to develop relationships within the state of Alabama, that's certainly really important to get a coach like Charles Kelly that comes into his home state and knows the lay of the land. You talk recruiting, you talk, just developing the relationships with the high school coaches. And a lot of people don't know this, but when you look at where Alabama has landed, their recent talent pool, it's from the home state of Alabama. It's very important to keep Alabama the major pipeline of Alabama. So glad to see Nick Saban bringing Charles Kelly on board. My two questions that I provided today on BamaInsider.com following the first practice was how will Steve Sarkisian's offense differ from Mike Locksley's? I mean, does the offense need to change? In what capacity? I mean, last year, the Crimson Tide's offense averaged 522 yards a game, 323 yards passing per game, almost 200 yards rushing per game. What will change this season? What new wrinkles will be added? You already have the quarterback coming back, Tua, who's a 3-1 favorite to win the Heisman. I was speaking with Mike Johnson, who's our spring football analyst on BamaInsider.com, and he mentioned this, and I thought this was interesting. He said that watching Steve Sarkisian's offense last year for the Atlanta Falcons, while Atlanta was successful, Atlanta also had struggles in the red zone. And I think as Alabama ended their season, the red zone really regressed. And I want to see if the red zone offense shows progression this season. What are they going to do differently inside the red zone? Because I think, especially against Clemson, my goodness, I mean, they're completely shut down in the red zone, which ultimately led to the demise of Alabama not winning another national championship. My second question was what position battles are taking place? I touch on this briefly. Our team writer, Tony Sukalis, will talk more in depth over the next couple of days. I listed Mac Jones as battling with Paul Tyson and Talia for that backup role at quarterback. Jerome Ford, Trey Sanders, Keelan Robinson, all battling for that third position in running back. Tight end, we have really no idea what's going to happen there. I would assume Miller Forrestall is the guy, but as you saw, Cameron Latou was just swapped over to the tight end position. Is that going to stick? Not quite sure. The center position is going to be Chris Owens, Emil Ayikior, both battling for that position following the departure of Ross Pierce-Baker. DJ Dell, Ismail Sopsher battling for that number 2 role, the defensive tackle position behind Fedarian Mathis. The inside linebacker position, I thought it was going to be Ala Kaho and Markel Benton and Shane Lee. But now with Kaho out of the picture, or at least for now, maybe that's just between Markel Benton and Shane Lee. And then at the kicker position, you have Will Reichard and Joseph Bolivas battling for that kicker position. I know a lot of people want to see someone come in and take over the role at kicker and put an end to the special teams woes. Call-in number is 205-686-3604. I'll leave the call-in line open for just a few more minutes, and then I'll bounce out. I will catch up with you guys again on March 18th. I'll be on vacation over spring break. I'm excited about it, feeling good. Following Alabama's first practice. Looking forward to seeing what you got. Oh, we got to call in. All right. All right, a name that needs no introduction, DJ from Ohio. What's up, buddy?
Hey, how you been, man?
Man, DJ, you're a verified caller, man. Does it feel good?
It feel great.
Man, what's up, man? What'd you think of yesterday?
I think yesterday was a great first day. All the guys looked in great shape. Looked like a normal Alabama team, which you could expect. And the freshman looked great as well, especially Shane Lee.
Yeah, I mean, Shane Lee, he's a monster, and as I just mentioned a few minutes ago, I want to see how much athleticism he has, because I mean, at 250 pounds, I mean that might be too much muscle. But he's a guy that I certainly have my eye on. What else were your takeaways from yesterday?
I like the way the D line looked. Mathis, I think he's gonna do good this year, replacing Q. Mm-hmm. And I also think people are a little too hard on Sharp for you losing that game against Clemson. Mm-hmm. I think he's gonna be a great coordinator, and I think Alabama's gonna run the ball more and pass it to the running backs a little bit more too as well. because I don't think he would have lost that game against Clemson if Bo had never got hurt.
That's a very good point. And I mean, similar comments from Nick Saban yesterday. He said that, it's not fair to judge Sarkisian based off that one game when he just had 1 week to prep. He said he did a great job when he was here at Alabama during the entire season. And that's I'm curious to see that as well, DJ. How are they going to use these running backs? You have Najee, you have Brian, but with that said, are those guys proven receivers out of the backfield? So those are some question marks that we are asking ourselves moving into the spring season. Anything else while you're on the show, DJ?
I think the freshman running back gonna get some decent playing time too as well. Trey Sanders, I think he might be the best receiver out the bunch whenever he get on campus. Him and Ford.
Yeah, Jerome Ford played in 4 games last year, redshirted, and then as you mentioned, Trey Sanders. And if you're wondering where Trey Sanders is right now, he's not on campus. I know there's probably a little bit of confusion with some people because they've been asking me a couple times. Trey Sanders will get here this summer, and he will compete, as I mentioned, with Keelan Robinson, Jerome Ford, and the rest of the backs for playing time. But 5-star running back coming in. Everyone's super excited about Trey Sanders. Anything else, DJ?
One last thing about the tight ends. I think Miller Forrester going to have a big year, too, as well, coming off injury.
Yeah, I think when you talk about Miller Forrestall, you look to the 2017 season. He was very productive last season, dealt with the injury. And I know he came back, but he never looked 100%. I want to get more of a look at him going into the spring season, but he's a guy that, he's a blocking tight end, but I think he's also athletic enough to make plays across the middle of the field. Big body, super intelligent. I too think Miller Forrestall will have a strong year. Now, I appreciate the call, DJ. Thank you so much for coming on the show today, and thanks for being a premium subscriber at BamaInsider.com. We appreciate it.
All right, I appreciate you, Kyle. Take care.
Take care. All right, that was DJ. He's a verified caller. Calls in, provides good insight. 205-686-3604. Leave the calling number open for a little bit longer, and then I will close it down. And I got a couple more things I'm working on before I bounce out on my much anticipated vacation. And of course, the coverage won't stop on BamaInsider.com. And Jabone will have it covered recruiting wise. Tony Tsoukalos will be on it. Team-wise, of course, you can catch up with Mike Johnson, too, and Jordan Harper, who does basketball and baseball at BamaInsider.com. Alabama has a monster basketball game, by the way, today at 5 o'clock on the SEC Network, taking on Arkansas, kind of a do-or-die game for the Alabama Crimson Tide basketball team. Must win, right? All right, well, I guess if we're not going to get any more calls, I'll go ahead and close up shop right here on the BamaInsider.com Talk of Champions. My name is Kyle Henderson. As I always say at the end of the show, be good people. Appreciate the men and women in the United States military and what they do for this great country. Really grateful for what you do for us. Call-in number is 205-686-3604. If you don't get in, you can leave a voicemail to be played on the show. Moving forward, we will have our call-in shows, and I will bring in Mike Johnson so you can call in and talk with both of us on the call-in show. All the coverage back at BamaInsider.com, the video highlights, Nick Saban's press conference. If you want to get behind that paywall and get the nuggets, go over to BamaInsider.com. The promo code at checkout is simply Roll Tide. From beautiful Tuscaloosa, Alabama, this is the Tuck Champions right here on BamaInsider.com. Oh, before I go, thoughts and prayers to the people out in Lee County. As really sad to see the destruction that tornado put. So thoughts and prayers to the great people of Lee County. We're certainly thinking of you, and we know that you'll definitely rebound and be stronger for it. Until next time, everyone, I'll talk to you soon. Kyle Henderson signing off.